Welcome to another episode of Motivation Monday. And today we're going to focus on and talk about drug awareness and just the impact drugs can have on your life and the impact your life can have without drugs. So definitely we're going to focus in because it's about a positive, being motivated. We want to talk about the very impact that you can have. I mean, I believe every person is here for a purpose and has generation changing opportunities that they can do and live, that you're an absolute gift. And in that gift, that there's so many people that can be welcomed to it and brought to it, but it's called the right frame of mind. Drugs begin to steal that gift. Drugs begin to open that gift, begin to discredit your gift. And so we want to make sure that we're able to operate in that full focus of the gift. And so our life will become a representation of our decision. I'm living today based on yesterday's decisions. And so it's how you decide and the decisions that you make that determines your tomorrow. You are an actual living result. You're the sum equations of decisions made prior to today. And if one of those decisions would be to use drugs or put something in your body, well, then the life that you'll be living would be a whole lot different than what you would have wanted. So that is a part of us and the representation of that. Addictions can take people from their purpose, from calling their own shot. And if you're a person like me that hates to be told what to do over and over again, well, that's exactly what drugs will do. It'll begin to consume you and begin to tell you what to do rather than you doing your own thing. It tells you where to spend your money and whether you're going to get dressed, whether you're going to take care of yourself, and whether to live or die ultimately, because again, you're looking at this thing and saying like, it's mine, I'm doing it. And it doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Now, I grew up in a small town, and my biological father was a drug dealer, pimp, and then I found out later he was the local mafia leader. So I saw drugs and alcohol from a very young age, and I didn't live with him, but I would go to visit, and even as going to visit, we lost several siblings, several brothers and sisters to the use of drugs and alcohol, the use of those things that were stealing them basically, but coming through the hands of someone that loved them. And so I began just to think about the fact that just because it may surround you, don't mean you have to give in to it. Just because it's the whole thing, maybe the whole family is doing it, but you be that one. Be that one that says, we're going to start turning our family around. And you hear about people all the time. I'm the first one to graduate from college in my family. I'm the first one to finish school. I'm the first one to become a doctor, first one to become a professional athlete, first one. And if your family is filled with drug use, be the first one not to be. Be the first one to say, it's sober. I can do this thing. We can do this thing. I'm going to set the new trend, because I believe it's easier to stay off drugs than have to get off drugs. That get off thing is a whole different monster. But if you stay off, you can actually help and be a part of the solution and not the problem. And so we get that point of saying, hey, look, here's the part of me I want you to understand. I want you to have my best me, my best person, the best that I could be. I want my days to matter. And so what happens then, if you are doing that, then things are in order. Things are taking the proper steps. However, drugs get in the mix, things become inverted. And invert means opposite or upside down. As opposed to taking care of yourself and getting yourself food, you'd spend your money on drugs. You spend your money on on the drug as opposed to taking care of yourself and putting yourself in position. People have lost great jobs because the chemical was greater than what they really wanted. And so you begin to look at, do I want this in my life? Do I want to be motivated, or do I want to be set aside, sitting on the sidelines, watching a life that I could have, wanting a freedom I wish I did have? Here's the deal. Keep your freedom now. We want you to keep your freedom now. And if you've gotten yourself caught up, let's get help. Let's go do something. Let's be a part of helping and be a part of the solution. Let us get you some help. Let us be there for you. And there are going to be informations at the end of this to where you can get some help and be able to get others to be a part of your solution. And that area of beginning to pick it up. So the areas of life that will need to be responsible and lead you is that area of decision making. So you'll either solve a problem or cause a problem based on your decisions. What decisions are you making? Because that decision is going to carry its weight. For every one of my siblings and loved ones that may have passed away or hurt by using the effects of drugs, it didn't just hurt them, it hurt us too. We were right there with it. We had to deal with it just like anyone else, and we had to be a part of that hurt, because they may have said, this is my life, I can do what I want to do. Well, it affects everyone in your life. And being able to do that, the people that you didn't want to hurt, ever wanted to hurt, is now being hurt by a decision you thought was just a self-made decision. And what was open up as a relative of mine that I talked to, he said, man, I never thought I would do some of the things that I've done because I've started using, because I've been a user. Now I'm doing things I would have never done as a sober person. And it began to you could see the hurt in his heart and hurt in his mind of the fact that now this thing has taken over. He can't be who he knows he's capable of being. Now he's being relabeled. This chemical is relabeling him and beginning to take over. And I kind of said it this way: if the mind is in a controlled market, our behavior will function under the laws of that market. Well, drugs become a controlled market, and your mind will obey the laws of that market, the want of that market, and make you believe I cannot live without it. Well, you're in a cornered market, and that market is that substance that's within you. However, if your mind is under the market of freedom, now you know, hey, I control my decisions. I make the decisions. I decide. Focus is the interior decorator of the mind. And some people's mind, after getting on drugs and the chemical takes over, their mind is so decorated with when I'm going to get my next hit, when am I going to have my next use, that they begin to lose sight of that. So if you are a true friend, you will begin to speak up for a friend that may be using. And a lot of times we get this mixed up. We think that this is a form of snitching. And by the way, snitching is not about speaking up. Snitching is you were in on the crime the whole time. So let's make sure we understand what that really means. When you speak up for a friend, you're speaking up saying, man, I do not want to stand over your casket. I do not want to bury you. So I'm going to speak up for you. And with my twin and I, we have this motto with our family members: I'd rather you be alive and hate me than love me and be dead. Because if I don't speak up, this thing is going to take you out. So I would rather you just be alive, be angry with me, but I'm not going to stand by and watch you ruin your life and destroy your life. I'm going to be a person that speaks up. And so you protect the relationship you have with that person over the friendships. Friends won't tell their friends the truth because they're afraid of losing their friendship. But let me tell you, speak up. You'd rather have a live, angry person than a dead one that loved you because you stayed quiet and you let them do what they wanted to do. No, you begin to speak up. Well, one thing I did notice, there was this 15-year-old kid, and he had a gun and he wanted to show his friend, and his siblings were home. So I'm going to wreck the ending for you. Something bad happens, by the way. So as he's getting ready to show his friend this gun, he pulls it out and the front door gets kicked in their house. An intruder kicks in the front door. And all the family members scatter, including the person with the gun. As he's running with the gun, he's the one that could stop and do something about it. He's the one that could stop and at least point, at least threaten. And come to find out, this intruder was a relative that was high on this very intense drug. But he didn't realize that this intruder didn't realize he had kicked in his sister's house. It was an uncle, and he was about to destroy her children. And just for some reason, the intruder snapped and broke a chandelier and been turned away. And now I'm 52 years old, and I remember that my uncle kicking in our house. I was only 10 at the time, and to think that left a mark on me forever. A person who never would have done this sober, but under the influence became a threat rather than a loved one. Became someone we needed to stay away from, someone we needed to fear or defend ourselves against, because the person they were was being turned into something different because of what they were willing to put inside of them. So I talked to you about having the better you. Begin to write your yeses down and said, I'm going to say yes to a better life. I'm going to say yes to owning my own home, yes to owning my own vehicle, yes to being able to pay for things for my family and lift up my parents. I'm going to be the one that says yes. I refuse to be in the no column and having no for the rest of my life. I'm going to be the generation changer of my family. We will not not be a family filled with alcoholics. We'll not be a family filled with drug addicts. And we're going to be a family that's filled with hope, destiny, goals. We're going to be a family that's filled with being successful, being leaders and being helpers. And if you're that person that have a friend, be a voice. Open up your mouth. Be that voice. Begin to be that one that speaks up and say, hey, look, we're better than this. We're gonna stand together. And on the other side, we're going to live our best life. Hey, this is Motivation Monday. Stay aware. Go after your best world because you're in it. Thank you.